Hey everybody, Steve here from The Varied Life, and today we're going to be answering some questions. Living the Korean dream, that's what we ended up doing here. Expert advice on visa, licenses, health insurance, all those little detailed questions that you don't see online about retiring here in Korea. And this was very problematic for us because when we decided to sell everything in the United States, I mean everything, house, car, guns, ammo, years of food preps and everything in the kitchen junk drawer, what we ended up doing, we came here on a tourist visa and we put in for our F1 and F4 visas. Submitted that while we were here in Korea, and we looked up and nobody was making videos on how to do this. Nobody was like, hey, we decided to retire in Korea, because the wife's a Korean citizen or has Korean ancestry, and it's cheaper. And here's what we did with this, and this. We really didn't see anything. And we searched. I found some stuff from somebody from like 10 years prior. Definitely not up-to-date information, and it wasn't as detailed as what I wanted. Matter of fact, there was very little details. So with this, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some questions that people have been asking me, and to help you. And because if you're a detailed person, this is very important to you. I'm the detailed person. It's like, hey, we're gonna move overseas. We're gonna go to Korea. We sold everything, and boom. I mean everything. I wanted to know details like, well, how long is it going to take for our F1 and F4 paperwork to get approved or disapproved? What is the turnaround time? What documents do we need to submit? Do we need to get anything translated? What about healthcare? What about, all of these little things? How are we going to get money into Korea? And, what banking situations are like over there? What is the interest rate? Just our driver's licenses. How long can I drive and how can I drive in Korea? If you're in the United States military and you PCS and you're assigned to Korea, then, they have ways in which you can do that. But as a retiree, those are important questions. Those details matter. So we're going to talk about that. We've got some interesting things here. And one of the questions is, people have asked me, well, did you withdraw early from any retirement funds? And of course, just to give you some background, I'm going to be turning 58 here pretty soon. Yes, I'm old. I'm rocking the gray. And matter of fact, I got to shave so I can shave some years off. You got to admit that was a good pun. So that video, that deserves a like right there on this video. But people have asked, well, did you cash out any 401ks or IRAs or anything like that, CDs, for you to come to Korea? And no, I did not. When you put in for your visas, like the F1 and F4 visa, like for my wife, she could still work here in Korea if she wanted. For me as her spouse, I am not able to work for a Korean company or for a Korean employer. I could still do remote work from the United States and get paid, but I can't hold a job from a Korean employer. So there's a little bit of differentiation. There's people that say, no, you can't work if you're on an F1 or F4 visa, blah, blah, blah. And actually, that's not the case. My wife could work under hers. I could work as long as it's for a U.S. employer, or let's say I just do, whatever it is online, and I sell and report and pay taxes in the United States. I'm not selling to Koreans. Those little details matter. But no, I didn't cash out anything early. I didn't pay any penalties. I'm going to keep all of those things just building, and we'll be done with that. So basically, with the visas and proving that I had enough money from pensions and so on and so forth on a recurring basis, on a monthly basis, we had to give like 2 or 3 years of federal tax returns. I had to do like a year or two of bank statements showing that, yes, we got my retirement check like clockwork every single month. This is how much it came, the total for the year and the total years and so on and so forth. But no, I didn't cash out any of those things, and I don't recommend that unless you absolutely have to. If you can retire here in Korea, that's great. But I think, and it all depends on your age. If you're able to wait until you can draw those things without penalty, I highly recommend that. I'm not a financial expert. This isn't financial advice. But if it was me, I would wait until, I could draw that without any penalty. Why would you want to pay a 10, 20, 30% penalty? It just doesn't make sense unless, if you're that hard up and wanting to retire so much, I would just go retire in the Philippines or somewhere else for a couple of years that has a lower income requirement for like your Social Security, military retirement, or you just have to deposit $10,000 or $20,000 in the bank, kind of like the Philippines, depending on the visas that are offered, retirement visas for there or some other country. And I would just stay there for a few years until you could draw that stuff. But that's just me. The other one is U.S. driver's license. This is an interesting question because people are like, well, these are one of the detailed questions. Because I had the same question. It's like, well, how can I drive? The interesting thing is that you can use an international driver's permit. And for those of you who don't know, your grandparents and stuff like that, maybe the younger generation, maybe your great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents, God, I sound old. You can go to AAA and you can get an international driver's permit. And I think it was like $20. Get one for the wife, get one for you, and whoever has a driver's license. And you can drive up to a year in an overseas country. So we actually got that before we came to Korea as, well, hey, we've got an international driver's permit. It's good for a year. That will give us enough time to figure out what we're going to do in regards to our driver's license. Did we have to take a driving test? Did we have to, what are the process? What do we need to do to get a Korean driver's license? And I was a little apprehensive about that at first. But it ends up that if you search online, there's 14 states in the United States. It's either 11 or 14. I think it's 14 that have reciprocity agreements with Korea in their driver's license. So if you come to Korea like we did, and your state is on that list of states that has that reciprocity, you can exchange your U.S. driver's license for a Korean driver's license that's good for 10 years. I mean, that's some good news. Now, on the Korean driver's license, it's Korean on one side of the card, and on the reverse side, it's in English. Bonus. The other huge bonus of this is good, not only good for 10 years, is I can use that if I have to go back to the United States, I can use that to rent a car. And it's perfectly acceptable. So, people that travel from Korea to the United States and go on vacation and go to Las Vegas, New York, or just travel across the United States, that's what they use as their Korean driver's license because there's this reciprocity agreement with the United States and Korea. So you can rent cars and do all that stuff. Now, the interesting little thing is I did a video, and I'll put that in the comment section down below, one of the first comments. I'll see if I can pin it. I don't know. I've never done that before. We'll see if we can do that. But it will have a link to a YouTube video that I made where we exchanged our U.S. driver's license for Korean driver's license. And depending on where you live in Korea will depend on where you need to go. So just because we went to this certain place that was close to us, it doesn't mean that everybody has to go there. There's different regional offices in which you can do that. And, the video will have more information and you can look up online for those important details. But with that, another little hack for this driver's license is that you fill out the paperwork. I think it was like 10,000 won we had to pay, if that. And then we had to give our U.S. driver's license over, and then they would process the paperwork. And the same day thing, we came back and boom, here's your license. It was really fast and efficient. Compared to the U.S. DMV, it was really fast and efficient. So I was like, damn, the United States DMV offices need to come to Korea and check this out and how they do business. The wait times in the U.S. is just incredibly long, and of course you know that. But with that being said, they take your U.S. driver's license. But I was told that if you bring a flight itinerary for the next couple of weeks, say 2 weeks from the day that you exchange your driver's license, not a paid ticket, just an itinerary, so we went on to like booking.com and, flight to the United States and then a return flight back to Korea. We're going to stay there 2 weeks, and so when we submitted our paperwork, we also submitted the flight itinerary and said, hey, we're planning on going to the United States in the next couple of weeks, so we're going to need our U.S. driver's license. So they gave us back our U.S. driver's license. So we have our Korean driver's license and we have our U.S. driver's license as well. Otherwise, if you don't give them that itinerary that you're planning to take a trip, they will keep your U.S. driver's license for that period of time that you have your Korean driver's license. And if you want to, let's say, you lived in Korea and you've been here for 5 years and you're like, yeah, I'm tired of it, I'm going back to the United States, or you find some other overseas country to retire to and you say, let's leave Korea and we'll go somewhere else. You can go back to that DMV office and say, hey, we're leaving. It was nice. Thanks for all the fish. We had fun. Can I get my U.S. driver's license back? You can get that back, but you would have to make a separate trip. The interesting thing is with the itinerary hack is they let you keep the license and you don't have to come back and give it. At least at the time that we did it and at the time of publishing this video, which is what is today? I don't even know what today is. 24 August. It ends up that as of this time, or I would say about a week ago, this is still a viable hack to where you can get your Korean driver's license and your American driver's license back by having a printout of an itinerary for a trip that you're planning to take. Here's another thing that's interesting. I had people contact me and say, hey, my state that we're residents of is not part of that reciprocity agreement with Korea. So what's the deal? Well, you can search online for how to get a Korean driver's license, and there's a written test and there's a driving test. And I think they offer it in English. I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, they do. But there's a few different driving laws, a few different things. It's all probably about 90% of it is the same as the United States, but there are some intricacies that are special to Korea, and you need to learn those things and signs and how to read them and certain signs. It's not like you have to learn Korean and be fluent to be able to take the test. But there's that. But there was a couple of people that contacted me and said, hey, yeah, we went and exchanged our U.S. driver's license. We filled out the form. We did all that. We did the itinerary thing. Our state was not on the list of 14 states that have reciprocity for the driver's license in Korea. So we figured, hey, we're going to submit the paperwork, do the licenses, and see what happens. Worst case scenario, they don't. And we'll just say, and then we'll just take the test. So they studied up on the test, but they figured they'd try to just exchange and see what happens. Well, apparently, from what I've been told by two people, is that they exchanged their driver's license that were not on that list, and they were able to get Korean driver's license. So whether it was the fault of the clerk that they were dealing with, was just like, driver's license, whatever, here. Yeah, you got one, just take a Korean one. That's a possible thing. I'm not saying that will happen every single time, but is it worth a try? Yeah, hell, why not? Give it a shot. Study for the test, plan for the worst, and hope for the best and see what happens. So that's it for the Korean driver's license thing. The other thing, mail, not male, female, as in, stems on the apple or not, but mail is in correspondence, sending letters back and forth. How do you forward your mail to Korea? That's the other thing, that's the other thing we're going to talk about is mail forwarding. Now, because I'm retired military, at this time, it is still a benefit for retirees to sign up and get an APOAP mailbox. Now, that mailbox limits me that I can only get 16 ounces of mail in correspondence kind of like letters, mail packages of, as long as it's 16 ounces or less, I can get that stuff. No Amazon boxes, no, stuff like that. Unfortunately, because under the Status of Forces Agreement, retirees are not under the SOFA status that the U.S. military and their family members and contractors have. So that's why we can't get the Amazon packages. But for mail forwarding, don't really need that because they have the APOAP addressing. There are some people who are veterans who are not retirees, and other people that just left the United States and they're teaching English, or maybe that they're getting an educational visa and they're studying Korean, going to college, or whatever it is. Maybe you're doing the digital nomad thing, or you have that visa, or you're doing the work vacation visa, which is, I don't know, that's a new thing that's kind of popped up, that you can work a part-time job and live in Korea and kind of vacation at the same time. That's kind of an interesting little thing. But how do you get your mail? There's a lot of different mail forwarding services, and basically I looked into those a little bit when I found out I can get an APOAP address box, mailbox on the local military base. I didn't need that, so I kind of cut off all of that. But basically, what happens with those services, and they can be about $5, $10, $15 a month, is that you have a United States address that could be your address. And so all physical mail correspondence will be sent to that address, and then they open it, they digitally scan it, and then you have access to that on your phone. So that's a great way that you can get correspondence, still get correspondence from the United States, like bank statements, investments, and things like that, letters and all of that, important documents that you still need to be able to get. I mean, a lot of services and financial institutions and banks will do, you do online statements, so you don't need to get physical mail anymore, but you still, it's still nice to have some of that. But there are those services out there, and that's kind of that's an option if you want that hard physical mail. You can't. It's not really hard physical mail. You can get the mail sent to a place, they digitize it, and then you can look at it online on your browser or on your phone. The other question comes into the visa, the health, kind of the healthcare, putting in for your visa documents. The required documents that you need to put in for the F1 and the F4 visa that we did were similar visas where you have to put in proof of income. Proof of income is generally one of the things that you need. You'll need tax returns. You'll need bank statements for 1 or 2 years, 2 or 3 years of federal tax returns, things like that. And do we need to have those things translated into Korean? In all the stuff that we did, nothing required an official translation from English to Korean. Even the FBI background check, no, they do that. It gets done. We don't do anything with that. We don't need to. I didn't even see the documents. It was done and it was done. I don't even know what those things look like. So those things don't need to be translated into Korean. So as of this time of this video, nothing is required by the Korean government for the F1 and F4 visas to have anything officially translated into Korean. Now, with that being said, what I ended up doing is making life easier for the people that were processing our paperwork by writing a Word document and showing, this is our bank account, this is how much we get for our pension, and kind of did a summary total of this is how much we get each month, this is how much that we've gotten, with account numbers and whatever, maybe not the account numbers, but just kind of a recapitulation of our finances for 1 or 2 years, and then gave copies of documentation from our bank statements and so on and so forth. And I imported that into Word document in MS Word. And then what I ended up doing is going into Word and going to Tools and going to Translate, and it automatically translated from English to Korean, and boom, there it was. So I had the document in English, and then I also had one translated into Korean. that made life easier for the people that were processing our paperwork. Even with the national health care insurance thing, and we'll get into that as well, there's a requirement that if you stay more than 90 days in Korea, you have to have some type of health insurance, whether it's a Korean national health insurance, which will cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of $110 a month, depending on the exchange rate, or you can have an exception to that policy because you have health care insurance that will be accepted by the Korean government. As a military retiree, had TRICARE Prime. When I retired over here in Korea, I was able to change over to TRICARE Overseas Select. And once I did that, it's like, well, now to get the exemption from buying Korean national health care insurance, and you could have both if you wanted. There's a gentleman that I know that when he was here, he had Korean national health care insurance and he had the TRICARE Overseas Select. It was an extra little expense, but yeah, it's a thing. Able to get a lot of the basics covered by the Korean national health care. Is it worth $110 a month? Times 12 months into, I don't know. That's for you to make that decision. But with the VA healthcare and the coverage, you go to the VA website and you can get a letter that you download that says this is how much, and you're covered by the VA and TRICARE or TRICARE, what a verification letter or whatever, insurance verification letter, I think it is. But you can download that letter and then you submit that with your packet as an exemption for instead of purchasing the Korean national healthcare insurance. So what I ended up doing with that is the same thing. I imported that into Microsoft Word, automatically translated into Korean. So I had a version in English, I had a version in Korean, put that in with my packet to make it easy for the people to process the paperwork, and it was appreciated. Was it required? No. Would it make things easier? Yes. Same thing with your bank statements, your 1 or 2 years of bank statements that you need to submit as proof of income that you can support yourself here in Korea. One is in English, one is automatically translated into Korean, and again, it was highly appreciated by the immigration office. I think they actually stated, I wish more people would do this, but you don't need to pay an official translator to do it. That's how good online and automatic translation in like Microsoft Word or whatever, it works really well to get the point across enough to where the Korean immigration said, thanks, that's a huge bonus for us. It'll definitely help. So I'm all about helping. Make it easy for them and make it user-friendly, easy to read, nice totals, big letters, so they don't have to go through and look at small letters, kind of make things a little bit bigger and make it easier for them. There are other online free translation services that you can do for like PDF documents or Word documents. If you can't figure out how to do the translation on Word, it's pretty simple. But let's say you get a PDF document, and let's say that you have a proof of income from your bank and you have 2 years worth of bank statements and it's sent to you as a PDF file. There are some online companies or online services that will translate that PDF from English to Korean, and then you can download that as well. There's also paid services as well, but I'm cheap and easy, so I'm all about the cheap and easy stuff. So it definitely helps in regards to that. So when we did our visas, when we did our health insurance exemption and other stuff, we were never told for F1 and F4 visas that we had to get anything officially translated from English to Korean. I just took it upon myself because I ran into somebody who says, hey, you might want to do this, provide them a copy in Korean as well. It'll help. And, it's like, and this older gentleman who had been in Korea for many, many years had his wife write it up in Korean. Well, I wasn't going to write it up in Korean or have my wife do it, especially now with the online translation, free translation that you can do, boom, like that. It worked out splendidly. So anyway, that's what we got going on. The other question, what was the other question about driver's license? Oh, residency. Residency. This was an interesting little hack that you can do. People are asking, well, what about your U.S. driver's license? Before we left the United States, we made sure that we got new U.S. driver's licenses. So that way they're good for like 10 years or whatever it is. So we had the max amount of time that we could have a U.S. driver's license was 10 years. Say you accidentally lost your driver's license, or you lost it in a boating accident. For those of you who had bump stocks back in the day, and you know what those boating accidents are. But now those things are okay to have. But anyway, get a new driver's license from the DMV so that you have the maximum amounts of term for your, driver's license, and that will give you 10 years. And then that will allow you to get your Korean driver's license. It doesn't matter if it's only good for a year. You can get your Korean driver's license, swap that if you're on that swapping list, and then your Korean driver's license is going to be good for 10 years. But I figured, hey, since might as well get 10 years, get a new license from the United States, I'll take that with me just in case if I ever go back to the States, which hopefully I won't ever, I still have that driver's license. The other question that somebody had was a little while ago was asking, well, what are you going to do when your U.S. driver's license expires? Well, it kind of goes back to the Korean driver's license. After 10 years, I can get that renewed. And again, it's Korean on one side, it's English on another. And I can use that in the United States as a viable and legal driver's license that's accepted in the United States. But with that being said, I've talked with some other expats and found out that what they ended up doing is they can get replacement U.S. driver's licenses mailed to them. So, yeah, not the digital forwarding thing, but if you have a physical address, you can write in and say, hey, I'm overseas here in Korea. I lost my driver's license. I need another one reissued. A gentleman told me about that, and they were able to send that to him. He also is a retiree who had a APOAP driver's or mailbox, and he was able to get that mailed to him. But again, it's kind of dependent on the state that you're in if they will allow you to do that. Some states say, hey, you got to come in and physically do that. Then what do you do? I don't know. Another interesting hack with the international driver's permit from AAA. This is a little addendum to that. That is good for 1 year. Now you can get another one for another year, and they can send that to you as long as you pay it. So technically, you could get an international driver's permit for a year, then get another one for another year, get another one for another year, another one for another year, and you'd be good. How long you would be able to do that, I don't know. That's kind of a gray area, but technically you could use your international driver's permit for a year and then get another one and have them send it to you, and you could do that. If you have a mail address that they could send it to, I know there's some people that said that they have done that. I figure since we're able to swap out our U.S. driver's license with the Korean driver's license, it's not that big of a deal. But there are some options. And the international driver's permit is really nice. If you travel to other countries, AAA will make that license or that international driver's permit particular to the country that you're going to on vacation or scouting out as a possible retirement backup plan, if you will, or whatever it is. So we've got that going on there. So anyway, yeah, those are some of the questions that people have asked me about expert advice on the visas, the license, transferring, translation, proof of funds and income. Other people have asked me, which is an interesting question, when you bought your apartment here in Korea, you paid in cash. Is that a thing? And yes, it's a thing here in Korea. Some people do that. Now, a lot of people will still do the bank transfer, so you wire money from your Korean bank account to the seller's Korean bank account, and that's information is provided with an account number, a routing number by your realtor when you're doing the closing thing and the whole 9 yards. And there's a whole official deal for that. And then you get a receipt, and you bring the receipt back and proving that you sent the funds. All of that. It's not like a closing company or what's the word for it? Not a title company, but the company where they handle the funds. So like if you're, maybe it is a title company. I've only been gone from the United States a couple of years, and I can't remember the phrase. But it's a little bit different than what we do in the United States, which makes you a little bit nervous. And there are the rumors that, people will steal your money and falsify records, and then you're just out all the money that you paid for your said property and you didn't really get it. Those rumors abound, but it worked out well for us. But we did pay cash, and it's apparently a common thing to the point of where when we went to our realtor's office is where the closing was done. We had our realtor, we had the lawyer that was there. You have a lawyer, real estate lawyer, and then we had the seller there. We were the buyers, and then there was somebody else there that had to stamp and verify some information. But they pulled out the money machine that counts the bills, and of course it was in Korean won. So we had stacks and stacks of Korean won, and they put it in there, and everybody's counting and looking, and they counted it twice in the whole 9 yards. And bringing that large amount of money to the closing in a backpack was very uncomfortable. So it was kind of a weird thing to do. But the majority of people don't do that. So don't think that that is what you have to do. But it's what our seller wanted to do. They're like, hey, we prefer this over wiring it. I don't know why. It's legal. You can do that. And that machine looked heavily used for counting the bills. So apparently it's a thing here in Korea. But after we did our closing and paid and we got the receipt and, some things were signed, I think it was about 3 or 4, maybe even 5 weeks later, we got the title to the apartment, and it's in my name. I bought the apartment. So for the people that are out there saying, oh, foreigners can't buy property in Korea, actually you can. You don't have to be a Korean citizen. I've heard people make up some crazy wild stories about that. And it's like, no, I just went through that. Some people have erroneously said that you can't buy property unless you have a long-term visa in Korea. That's not true either. We actually found out after we got our F1 and F4 visas that you can buy property on a tourist visa. So you could come over here to Korea for 90 days and say, hey, I've got money, I've got funds, I want to buy an apartment. Boom, you can buy property here in Korea. You don't need to be on a long-term visa. Matter of fact, we were even told by a realtor that you don't even need to be in Korea to buy property. That there's people from China and other countries that buy property in Korea, especially down in the Jeju-do area, where the Chinese are buying a ton of properties down in Jeju-do, which is kind of like the little island off the southern tip of Korea. Real big vacation place. It's not as nice as Hawaii, Oahu, or places in the Philippines. Or Thailand or things like that. But it's close by, but a lot of Chinese are buying properties there sight unseen. So, you can buy properties and not even be in Korea if you want to do that. It's a thing, and apparently a bunch of rich Chinese people are doing that in different parts of Korea. And I don't know, I have a different... I have mixed feelings about that because I can buy my property. I bought my apartment, and it's good. We're good to go. We might buy another apartment, smaller apartment, and then we'll rent this one out. But I don't know. It's kind of like Korea. Are you allowing foreigners to buy up prime property in Jeju-do, and it's no longer going to be under Koreans anymore? There's a threat of that. Is that a good thing? I think there should be kind of like the Philippines. You go to the Philippines, you can't buy property, but you could buy like condos, and I think it's a 60-40 split where 60% of the condo units or apartments have to be owned by Filipinos. The remaining 40% can be sold to foreigners. Maybe something like that should happen in Korea. Um, it's just kind of a mixed emotion with that. I really don't want Korea to lose a lot of their property to people from another country because they didn't take the measures, and then later on down the road they're going to complain and say, well, the majority of Chejudo is owned by Chinese. The properties, the hotels, the condos, and all that stuff, it's owned by Chinese. And then people get mad. Well, you allowed it to happen. So maybe there should be some restrictions put in place, kind of like the Philippines does and other countries. But yeah, put that in the comment section down below and tell me what you think about that. Do you think just let anybody buy everything, or should there be some restrictions? And if so, what type? I don't know. Being that my wife and I are both American citizens, my wife is a Korean national, and then she became an American citizen, and now we're both American citizens living in Korea under her being a returning Korean. We're still eligible to buy property. I'm eligible to buy property even if I didn't have a Korean wife type person who was born and raised in Korea. Yeah. I mean, how do we feel about that in the United States as well? So, yeah, that's what we got going on. Those are kind of the big questions there. I got some other questions. When you came to Korea, did you go space available flights through the military because you're retired military? No, we did not. I never used space A in my life. I'm at the age now where I don't want to stand by and wait around. I would rather pay the ticket and go. I'd rather get the business class, the upgrades. Maybe someday I'll do space available flights. I don't know. Maybe we'll look into it. It depends. Maybe that's a possibility because we're looking at going to the Philippines hopefully this winter, December, January next year, and kind of get away from the cold, harsh winters of Korea and go to the Philippines where it's like 85 degrees and, do that for a month or so. Yeah, maybe I'll look into that. That could be doable because that's not a terribly long flight. But anything that's long from like the United States to Korea, 10, 12 hours, whatever it is, yeah. Daddy's big. Daddy's big and daddy needs a big seat. So yeah, economy just doesn't work for me. So anyway, yeah, if you've got other questions, please send me those questions. Put them in the comment section down below. If you also look on my YouTube page, you can find my email address, which is my official email address, is officialthevariedlife@gmail.com. So that's a thing there. And you can send me questions. Let me see if I can put that, do an overlay. Can I do an overlay? And put that up there because people keep asking me and saying, hey, I want to send you some questions and blah, blah, blah. Can we do that? Man, that's entirely too small. Why is that entirely too small? And why is it not the color that I want? Because I want it in that color there. And I want it to be a bit bigger. I'll just put it up like that. Okay, so anyway, that's my email address, officialthevariedlife@gmail.com. So I use that for people to contact me, or you can contact me on Facebook and send me a PM. You can do that as well. I also use the same email for 3D resin printing, business inquiries or testings or whatever. I'm hoping to do more in that arena as well. But that's my email address that you can send and shoot me messages and questions, and I'll share the information that we went through, and hopefully it'll lessen the learning curve for you all there. With that being said, The other thing that you can end up doing, and I'll put this in the comment section down below, and maybe we'll copy that. And can I paste that? I can paste that. But what I want to put up here is that you all can buy me a coffee. So if you appreciate the information that I've provided here, you can buy me a coffee, and because I love coffee, and let me finish this up right here, boom. And there is the address of buymeacoffee.com, The Varied Life. And I'll put that link in the description box down below to help support the channel. If you can buy me a coffee, that'd be awesome. And there are people that have bought me coffee, and the cool thing is those people end up being, here. And maybe, can I do this? Do that. Copy. Maybe I can go over here and I can post this here. Yeah. So anyway, you can buy me a coffee there, and I'm going to switch back and forth, and I'm going to end up, and I'm going to copy that, and I'll go back to here. So in case you're wondering what the hell's going on. So anyway, yeah, you can buy me a coffee, and these are a couple people that bought me coffees who are awesome, and I update that as well. So yeah, if you like the information that I'm putting out and appreciate the details and answering the questions in regards to retiring overseas in Korea, the journey that we have, you can check out the YouTube channel, and there's a lot of videos of us and our experiences, sharing how we bought the apartment and just kind of that stuff. And there's a number of people that have contacted me that said, hey, we're thinking about doing the same thing. We didn't know that this was an option or we could do this, but you guys did it, and so we want some more information. So with that being said, yeah, everybody makes their own decision on whether you retire, come to Korea or not. It's not, don't think of it as, you come to Korea and you hate it and then you blame us. We're adults here. You're going to do adult things, and if you're an adult of legal age, whatever you do, that's on you. Okay, I'm just sharing what worked for us, and it might not work for other people. But yeah, with that being said, some people have really appreciated it, and this is a way that they can give back. I mean, a lot of people said, hey, I want to buy you lunch, or I want to buy you a coffee, a real coffee. And other people have retired and moved and live in different parts of Korea, so that we're not able to, have a meal together. So this buy me a coffee thing is a way to do that. But yeah, if you've got any questions, hit the email box, the email down below. You can email me and ask some questions. I'm retired, so yeah, I go to the gym and I do resin printing. I paint miniatures, and we kind of do stuff here in Korea. So I've got time to answer questions and help out and share the experiences that we went through. So with that being said, that is it for the Q&A for the questions. And living in Korea, living the dream, expert advice on the things that we just talked about. I don't know how much of an expert I am, but we came here, we did it, been there, done that, and sharing our experiences, and that's what works. So I'm going to have to call it a night, because actually it's 8:42 at night here in Korea, and I haven't even had dinner yet. So it's going to be a very late dinner. Probably going to stay up a little bit to about 11 or so, and then hit the gym tomorrow and start. No, tomorrow's Sunday. It's the weekend. I don't go work out until Monday. So yeah, I got some time off. I think we'll go to the mall tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. So anyway, yeah, like, subscribe, I would appreciate that. And if you have any questions, send them, and maybe I'll do a video response, because I get tired of typing all the time, and that will help out a bunch of other people. And if you have experiences, shared or similar experiences, put them in the comment section down below, because it's about sharing all the information of helping everybody out. All right, that's it. No more rambling. I'm done. Peace.